You probably already know that exposure to UV light can cause cancer, but did you know that the damage continues even after you're away from direct exposure? New scientific research shows that UV light exposure activates melanin in both protective and harmful ways. What is melanin, and how can it protect the skin, and how is it harmful? For years, scientists have believed that melanin has only two functions: pigmentation and a natural barrier for the skin against sunlight and now tanning beds. So what is melanin anyway? Melanin, also known as pigment, is formed by cells called melanocytes and is what gives skin and hair its natural colors, as well as the color of the iris of the eye. More melanin means darker skin tones, less melanin means fair skin tones, and a lack of melanin altogether means albinism. Now that we know what melanin is, let's explore more about what it does for us, aside from making us different hues. Melanin has long been known to serve as a protective barrier for the skin against exposure to sunlight, which contains both UVA and UVB lights. UVA light is the type of ultraviolet light that is always present when there's sunlight and causes wrinkles and cancer. UVB light is the type of ultraviolet light that causes sunburn if you're exposed to it for too long, which varies depending on how much melanin the person has. While most sunscreen is usually made to protect just against UVB light, unless it specifies otherwise, the melanin in the skin helps block both types of UV light. Too much exposure to UV light from tanning beds or the sun can result in a mutated DNA segment, which is what causes cancer. This radiation damage to the melanocytes is usually automatically caught and corrected by special proofreaders built into the DNA. However, when it's not caught, skin cancer can result. According to researchers, skin cancer is the most common form of cancer in the U.S. Wearing sunscreen, dressing appropriately, staying hydrated, and monitoring your body for signs of sunburn have been the solution that conscientious people follow. Given the new studies, it makes showing that may not even be enough is even more unsettling. Douglas E. Brash, clinical professor of therapeutic radiology and dermatology at the Yale School of Medical, and his co-authors did test studies using mouse and human melanocyte cells that were exposed to UV lamps. What they expected to find was that the exposure resulted in damage to the melanocytes, and that once the exposure was removed, the damage would stop. DNA damage occurred as they had expected, but something unexpected also happened. The melanocytes continued to display more of the same damage hours after the exposure had ended. Even more surprising, the cells that had no melanin were only damaged during exposure, not after. More tests were done, and Sanjay Premi, associate research scientist in the Brash laboratory, discovered the reason that the melanocyte-containing cells continued to experience damage was because of two enzymes that combined and excited an electron in the melanin. The resulting energy from this carried over to the DNA and continued the same actions as when it was being exposed to the UV light. Because the continuous effects happen slowly, though over an extended period of time after exposure to UV light, scientists are hoping to gain the upper hand by creating skincare products that would protect the skin even after exposure to UV light. The bottom line is that we have limited built-in protection from UV light because of melanin, but even it has its limits. Supplementary attention and care need to be given for anyone who is fair-skinned and prone to burning, and those of us who are not fair-skinned may want to rethink getting that summer tan or frequent exposure to the sun at the beach with too much skin exposed. Melanin has more pros than cons, but it is becoming clear that it may not be built to withstand all that we're putting it through as the modern man and woman. Science is a useful tool in helping to shed light on new facts. With the knowledge of what melanin and how is and how it can both protect and harm, we can make better decisions when it comes to exposing ourselves to UV light. An important takeaway from this is that people must be mindful of their choices. Many things people do or expose themselves to can cause lasting effects that may or may not be reversible.